What's going on, everyone? We're back at Stickboard 3 to talk about a bunch of balance changes that have been made to the game. And I have the list right in front of me, so we're just going to go down it. So here we go. Kicking it off, poison units now have a higher priority for a Merrick heal so they can get cured faster, which is good. If you have 2 Merricks and 3 rows of poisoned archers and a line of poisoned Spiritans, before this change, it would take forever for the Spiritans to get healed because they're focusing on the archers for too long, which basically leads to the Spiritans eating a ton of poison damage while waiting to get cured. And according to this change, it seems like that will fix that. Then we have Bewitch, or formerly known as Merrick Convert, removed from multiplayer and the unlock tree. That is incredible. I didn't think something like that was going to happen, but it seems the developers have realized that a card like Merrick Convert in multiplayer simply does not belong. It is too broken no matter how you try to balance it, and they did nerf it, but then people started saying it was too weak. Well, the only sensible option after that would be to just get rid of the card entirely. From what I heard, it doesn't even work in single player, so Merrick Convert is just gone from the game, which is beautiful. Then we have Shadowwrath Fixate, no longer working on statues, which means they cannot shred them in 2 seconds. Spirited movement speed while blocking was increased by 50%. It's a decent buff, but personally I think Spiritans need more than that. They need a damage buff, but we know that's not going to happen, but whatever. Then we have something that was really desperately needed, however, I do not think it is that significant, and that's the Enslaved Giant. It has received a damage nerf from, what was it previously? Wasn't it 45 previously? It was 40 or 45 previously. Now the base damage is 35, and the splash damage has been nerfed to 30%, and the damage in catapult mode has been reduced to 44. However, I have been playing 2v2 games recently, and I can say with a high degree of certainty that these guys are still pretty powerful. Although, I'm not going to say the damage nerf was bad because it's a step in the right direction, but I do believe more is required. Then we have a base damage buff for Toxic Deaths from 8 to 9. I really don't know if it's that significant, but I am going to test these guys today. But moving on, Surge, when combined with Snow Squall, will not bring units to a complete stop. It will max out at 90%. However, it is still extremely powerful, and I have seen Bloxroad's video of Snow Squall and Surge on 2 Magi Kill, and it's still extremely good. Scorch got a nerf. It has an increase in cooldown to 6 seconds, which means the stacks per comet that slowly increased towards 10, now the cooldown between those is 6, and the damage per comet was decreased from 15 to 13. However, I do still think that is extremely powerful. Illuminate got a buff, which is very surprising. Illuminate was one of the most forgotten cards in the entire game, and it received a buff. The reveal now lasts for 10 seconds, and the passive speed boost to magical units now lasts for 15 seconds. Is they going to bring it into the game and make it part of the meta? Absolutely not. I really don't think so. However, it's just surprising to see that it got a buff. Then we have Salvager Smithy. It received a nerf. This description is false. It says you gain 30 gold when the enemy unit dies. You now receive 25 gold. But that does not make Salvager Smithy any less powerful. It is still very good. Then we have some minor wall buffs where it does extra damage at each level of the upgrade. However, I don't think it's going to make it worth using because there's still a lot of things wrong with it. The minor upgrade gives plus 5 HP for all levels, so a slightly bigger health buff to the minor. However, I don't think it's going to make this any better. The minor hustle spell, which also got nerfed by the way, it has a 50% boost reduced to a 40% speed boost. However, that still makes it way better than the minor upgrade because you don't have to spend so much gold and mana to get this up. Like, come on. It costs 600 gold and 600 mana. to max out your miners fully, and a total of, let me just pull up the calculator here. I'm gonna add up all of the research times together and see what we get. 135 seconds. Let me double check that I didn't do anything and misclick. Yeah. So you have to spend 600 gold, 600 mana, and invest 135 seconds, assuming you buy the upgrades back to back. 600 gold, 600 mana, and 135 seconds to get a 45% increase in your mining rate and 30 extra HP. It's just not worth it, man. The Miner Hustle spell is way better than the upgrade, so this buff is not going to make the Miner upgrade any better than it is. Then we have a Sickle Wrath buff from 50 to 55 HP, and I don't think it's going to bring these guys back in the game either. There's just so many options that are way better than Sickle Wrath in terms of AoE damage. You got Rip Riders, Magi Kill, Scorch. There's just so many better options, not to mention in terms of early game performance, I still think Shorath and Crawlers will massively outperform Sickle, so not a good enough buff. And that is it in terms of balance changes. So what I'm going to do is test as much of these as I can in a 1v1 scenario, which is just something I don't want to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. And we're going to kick it off with Toxic Deads. Now, I don't plan on using these guys in the traditional manner of dead spam, because when this game was released to alpha, there was a point in time where Toxic Deads were used in a widespread amount of strategies, and they expanded past dead spam. And I feel like that's the state that Toxic Deads need to be placed in, because if they are only good in dead spam decks, are they really good at all? I mean, just looking at other cards like Archidons or Eclipsers or, I don't know, Rip Riders, I guess. They can be used in a variety of strats where Toxic Deads are damn near limited to one type of deck, and that's a dead spam deck. Well, we're going to aim to not do that. This is really just testing how well can the Toxic Dead itself perform if I wanted to combine it in a manner like I was running Spiriture or Spirit Clipser or Jug Clipser or Jug Archer, because those two light range units can synchronize very well with tanks. However, Toxic Deads can't. You can't run these guys with Jugs or Spiritons very well, or even Rip Riders, because of the heavy unit queue, which is why I think it needs a rework, because it just limits your ability to run a combination like Dead Jugger, which is very powerful in Stick Empires, but pretty much impossible here because you're just going to get massively outmassed. But I'm going to give it a try anyway. So we have this setup here. We're going to go with Salvager Smithy. We're going to go with... Could go Projectile Shield. I guess it isn't a bad idea. This is not going to work out well because I never use Toxic Deads. Never. And I'm using them in a manner that isn't dead spam. So we could be in for a really, really rough time here. In fact, I'm actually going to exchange Juggernauts for Spiritons, which might be a bad idea, but we're going to do it. And then for the final thing here, I really don't know what else to go for. Like, I don't know. I just do not use Toxic Deads. They are just not good. So, what do we go with here? I don't know. Merrick? I guess we can give Merrick a try. I don't know. This is not going to end well, but we're gonna do it because I don't care about my rating. It really does not bother me. I could drop into the negatives and I wouldn't care. Alright, well, here we go. Now, since I know I am using a deck that pretty much sets me up for failure, I'm not really going to get mad if I get massively hard countered. Oh, we're facing a 2K as well. Yeah, we're done for. But anyway, the only thing that's really going to anger me is if I face all Archer Masters or something, because they are scumbags and I can't stand them. Alright, but anyway, I need to move this recording thing down. Hopefully he does not get in my way when I'm trying to play the game. But yeah, I'm not expecting to win any of these games that I play. Like, none of them. We'll steal some quick tower gold, though. That's pretty good. And we're just going to wait till we get 3 crawlers to face that sword. There we go. Now we can go in. Now, usually, the ideal way to go about doing this is to go for a Toxic Dead as early as possible, which is why I chose crawlers. You're asking to die if you run in like this. What are you even doing here? He has 3 swords. So yeah, we're not gonna, I really don't think we're gonna beat those swords if I decide to run in. So we'll just wait, and now we go early at Toxic Dead. I don't know what this guy's trying to do, if he's trying to intimidate me or whatever the case may be, but he can sit here and spy on me all he wants. I'm not really concerned about hiding anything. I'm not gonna turtle or anything like that. I'm just gonna show that I have a Toxic Dead, and he's gonna get out of here probably. Yep, knew it. So we're just gonna go for as many Toxic Deads as possible while also trying to run up some crawlers, and we're gonna see where this takes us. Like I said before, I don't expect us to win this at all. I expect us to see, I expect us to lose every single game. Oh, here we go. The user control ignored. Gonna completely mess up how my crawlers act. Although somebody did tell me, if you put your units in hold command. And there's the Scorch. There's the Scorch, and look at that. Scorch nerf. Very, very ineffective. And he's probably got a whole bunch of swords about to catch up on me and kill my Toxic Dead. So yeah, we're already out to a good start. Yep. Should have called this. And he has heavy healing wisp. Yeah, this is already looking pretty bad. Well, no time to try and run away like a coward. We're just gonna go for it here. Yeah, this is to be expected. This is to be expected when you have this kind of thing going on. It's gonna garrison the miners and have the units come back out. And look at this. Look how much damage they got on the statue just from that. And all these extra deads really doesn't mean anything. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can switch out of crawlers and try some other setup. But I don't know what it could be. To be honest, I don't. Like, I'm not used to running this kind of combination. And as you can see, it's already got us in a bind. But this is a problem with the heavy unit queue. You cannot use Toxic Deads in the same way you would use, say, Archidons or Eclipsers because of the heavy unit queue. Here comes another Scorch, which honestly didn't even do that much to me, so I don't really care that much. But anyway, you really cannot use these guys in the same manner as you would Archidons or Eclipsers with mid-game tanks because the heavy unit queue really cripples them. So like I said before, that needs a serious rework. And they're gonna do this tower stalling against me. They probably got Tesla coil or some kind of tower spawn loading up. Never mind, they're gonna retreat. Now I would imagine they have a ton of sword wrap ready to rush me here. They're gonna Scorch me again, and we'll just queue some Merrics up to deal with that. But yeah, that just shows that Scorch, the nerf wasn't all that good. It's still extremely powerful. And we're gonna bulk up on the mana here. Get 2 more extra miners, or 3. Put ourselves at an even, no, never mind. We're already 77 population. That is crazy. Also, we'll split the units a bit. He's probably gonna Scorch my dad's next if I had to guess. But it really doesn't matter. Yep, here he comes. He's got Atreus. But honestly, I feel like if I just keep a Spiriton in front here, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Wow, my other Spiriton already died. That's cool. There's really no point in me trying to run. We might as well just stand our ground and try to get damage. Although, as you can tell, it's working out pretty well. Even against these stand-in Spiritons, these Toxic Deads are performing pretty badly. And there goes the merit. It's dead. I mean, I guess the one good thing is all these Spiritons have eaten a lot of damage, but it just doesn't matter. Does not matter. So far, I would say these Toxic Deads are not performing well. They are losing to Spiriton spam now, and doesn't seem to be getting any better. Now, you're probably inclined to say, well, because you're not using melee decks to back them up. But again, that isn't the point. The point is, even with this damage buff, I think Toxic Deads are just not good. Now, is it possible that I'm just not using them in the way they were designed? Yeah, that's a possibility, but here's the thing. Like I said before, there was a point in time where Toxic Deads were used in a wide variety of strats, and that was when this game was first released to alpha. That just can't be said anymore about this game. Like, it just isn't good. So he's probably going to run in here and do some more crap with the trails. Or you can have him sit there. I don't really care. Like I said, I'm expecting to lose every single game that we play, because even with this damage buff, again, this is too many of the weaknesses that Toxic Deads have. And me bringing Rune of Reanimation was so I can get the health buff, because I think without Rune, Toxic Deads are even worse. Here we go. Here he comes again. I'm just going to have my Cast Vultures assist this time. He's probably going to Scorch us too. And it's even crazier that these guys are losing to Spiritons, which I honestly think are one of the weakest units in the game. But, yep, congratulations, Mr. 2K player. You are going to collect a lot of dubs today, because these units are just not good. And there's the Scorch. I was waiting to see that. Alright, at this point, now he's just spamming it. And you know, I see why it practically has no cooldown. The cooldown is with the comets that it builds. Other than that, you can use this thing, like, endlessly. But yeah, this is totally to be expected. Like I said, I don't think this damage buff means anything. I think these deads are just still terrible unless you use them in dead spam. Or I don't know, maybe there's some other variant that you can use that isn't dead spam that's way better than what I did. But either way, the point still stands. I think the buff was terrible. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that this game has stupid ads now, which I get it. They have to make money. But what really upsets me is the fact that there was no option. There's no opt-out option. Now, of course, something like that will cost money. But here's the thing. I don't mind paying money to remove ads, because I hate the ads. The ads are so intrusive and aggravating and just terrible. So I really just I don't mind paying money to get rid of ads, but the problem is there is no such option. Now, they did make it to where you can instantly skip it. However, you still have to wait 5 seconds to fully exit out of the ad. Ads are just not good no matter what way you want to look at it. I don't care if it lasts for a millisecond. It is still intrusive and stupid. And it sucks that there is no option to opt out of it, which, like I said, I'm sure will cost money, but I'm perfectly fine with that. I will happily pay money to get out of ads. I bought YouTube Premium for that exact reason. But anyway, moving on. Oh my god, I can almost laugh. I could almost laugh at how awful this looks. But hey, I'm mimicking a possible deck that would involve Archidons, and you know, Blazing Bolts can be used in that manner. This is such a horrible setup right here. But again, I'm expecting to lose every single game here. Though I feel like I should be more reasonable than this. I mean, would you realistically combine Blazing Bolts with Toxic Deads? No, of course not. Because their range is terrible. And by the time you try to get that damage output going, you're just done for. So maybe I should run Glacial Fletching. But again, the range is terrible. So why would you bring Glacial Fletching with Toxic Deads? But again, I'm thinking outside the box here. And this used to be legitimate strats where back in the alpha days when Toxic Deads were actually good, you could comfortably run Glacial Fletching or Blazing Bolts with them, and they would be great, almost as good as archers were, until the 5 million nerfs hit them and made them the trash units they are today. But I feel like we do need to be more realistic, so let's not bring Blazing instead. The hell do we go for? I switched out Crawlers for Sword Wrath to see if maybe getting a better early game edge would work. I could bring a Giant, but then I'd have to get rid of my Projectile Shield, which I think is important. I can't get rid of Rune because, again, I think the Deads just have to have the health buff because they are just trash otherwise. Another thing that needs to be addressed about them is their lack of tanking power without Rune. But anyway, I'm at a tower spawn. Let's go Dead spawn. But that's if we even get the tower. This is such a horrible combo right here. But like I said, I don't care about my rating at all. So I'm willing to sacrifice it for these experiments that will hopefully highlight how ineffective these units still are, because it would be great for Toxic Deads to shake up the meta and become relevant again, but they are so not in the stage to allow that to happen. As you saw in the previous game, they still get massively overwhelmed by a lot of stuff. That was just simple Spearton spam. Now granted, they were buffed by Atreus and Pyke and Standard and all that, but even still, they took such a long time to punch through this heavy units, and they're meant to be anti-heavy units. Like, it's just not good. Now, of course, you do get the benefit of being able to survive assaults for longer, but it's a little bit hard to deal with that when you have Scorch to deal with, which you might as well not even try to dodge it with Toxic Deaths, because you're going to get hit the entire way through. And again, the bad range and the bad speed, like I said, an extra damage buff. 1 point. I'm short-circuiting right now. I can't seem to think straight. But just trying to figure out a way to use these Toxic Deads outside of death spam is just hurting my head. Maybe get a 1400 a day. Watch them defeat me because I'm using one of the worst units in the game in the most ineffective way possible, because guess what? It isn't death spam. But whatever. I put myself in this situation, so I have nobody to blame but myself. But anyway, we're going to do our Sword Wrath opening here and try to get the Toxic Dead out earlier. It's not like it matters though. It just doesn't. Like, it isn't an effective unit. Nice, I lose the Sword Wrath exchange right away because their sword decides to leap while mine did not, so garrison that one, and they're probably going to have a second sword on the way to the tower, so I might as well wait for this guy to heal before we continue. Yep, second sword, I was right to not go off for tower right away with this one. Let's see if he's healed yet. No, he's not. I love not being able to see the units that are garrisoned to see how much health they have left. Now he should be good. And I hit garrison. I love when I fat finger these controls and they do things that I don't want them to do. That's fantastic. But anyway, we are moving in once again. They have the same 3 swords on the tower. I'm going to go for the Toxic Dead. I have a 4th sword coming in. Let's see if we can come out on top in this fight. I should now that I have the 4th sword. There we go, forcing the retreat. And tower is mine. We'll go for the first tier Dead's tower spawn, try to get that rolling. And I am still fully expecting to lose this game because I guarantee my opponent is going to have something that is just way better than Toxic Deads. It could be literally anything. It could be Oxygen, and it would be better than Toxic Deads. Somebody was spectating the game, and now they're not? I don't know. I didn't see what that message said. Okay, so they're running in with a single Juggernaut. Usually not the best idea. Oh, 2 Juggernauts. Well, I have nothing but anti-heavy units, so let's see how this works out. Probably not going to work out well now that now that all these sword rats showed up along with it. Yeah. Well, it's pretty pointless trying to garrison off a tower, so we might as well just sit there and tank it. Okay, so they're running that strategy. So I'll try to build up what I can, but here again, with trying to train Deads and Jugs at the same time, they're going to mass a much bigger army than me, much faster. So I'm actually better off trying to mass Toxic Deads and Swords to try and match the sword count that they have. Although it's not going to be easy considering I lost all my swords from before and they just have a way bigger setup than me right now. But I think we have the time to do it. Matter of fact, what I should do is have the Deads go back a little bit. So when we have to garrison, which is gonna happen, we will be able to get the Toxic Deads behind the statue in time so they don't get murdered. But yeah, that's not the plan. I can't even try and mass Jugs with this because it's not gonna work out well. I'll just park this guy right here. And yeah, now we play the waiting game. Second tier Deads tower spawn. You don't like to see that. Oh, they have Eclipses too. And yeah, that's a lot of Jugs. Guess we'll cancel and try and get 2 of them, even though it's not going to work. That's another thing too, like, I only have 7 Toxic Deaths. Now granted, I have 7 Sword Wrath as well, but this really just doesn't feel like a big army. But nonetheless, I'm going to attack because there's really no point in trying to wait. Oh yeah, here we go. We got a massive attack incoming. Well, no time like the present. And there's a Scorch. Why am I not surprised to see that? Here comes a Maokai, which I actually don't want to get Hell-Fisted, so we will back up for that at the very least. And here comes all those swords as well. Yeah, there's a lot of melee Deads here now. Alright, I'm going to try and get away from the Hellfist now. But lo and behold, my Toxic Deads move slower than turtles, so of course we get hit by it. Yeah, well, once again, not surprising outcome. The Toxic Deads did not fare well, and they once again just got overwhelmed and destroyed. And I couldn't match it with my own Jug Mass because the Heavy Q just massively cripples my ability to do so. I guess we'll burn this, not that it matters. Like, look at this. A +1 damage buff, and yet they're struggling to punch through these melee Deads. And now the Hellfist on the statue is going to seal the deal. Probably the most effortless win this player ever got. Toxic Deads, people. There's the Toxic Dead buff. Yeah, I don't see these guys being any more effective than they were before. Like, a +1 damage buff is so not enough for these guys. They need a lot more than that.